Welcome to The Turnover. The format is simple. Take 3 multifamily media network hosts with a maintenance background and put them together. The twist is that, like maintenance in the apartment industry, they have to respond to the unknown. You see, 2 of the hosts don't know what the topic is. The fun part is there's no limit and you get to listen in. So what ideas are we turning today?
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of The Turnover. Joining me today, obviously, we have Paul and Chris. That's who we are. It's the 3 of us. It's what The Turnover is, all right? And if you watched Chris's episode, you probably noticed we're all wearing the same clothes because we record these back to back. It's okay. I promise.
Don't tell the secret! Don't let it out!
Oh, man.
What if they watch them out of order, Mark?
Wow!
Okay, but I will say, look what I have.
What?
Yes.
Oh, man.
Yes.
I traded in the glass for the MMN coffee mug because that's who we are. We're MMN.
It's the Turnover approved MMN coffee mug.
It is. Look, there is plenty of space on the back of the mug to put Turnover, but we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about that later. This is not a marketing podcast, all right? It's not. I have an interesting topic for you all, and I'm going to apologize in advance, okay? Because we'll see what happens, but that's the point of it, right? To have a little fun. Okay, I have no data to back up what I'm going to say. I have nothing in front of me that has any sort of statistic. I would just like to discuss it. When and if, or when do you feel, or if, do you think that multifamily maintenance compensation will ever get caught up to where the end user feels it should be? You constantly hear, I don't get paid enough. I don't get paid enough. I can go work for an HVAC company and make 3 times the amount. I can go work for a plumber. I can leave maintenance field because we're supposed to know electrical, plumbing, HVAC, pool, safety, OSHA. We're supposed to know all of it, but we don't get compensated like the specific trades. Do you feel like it'll ever get caught up? What do you feel like could be the catalyst for that? How do we get there?
Thank you for joining us for the shortest episode of The Turnover ever.
Exactly right.
Because the answer is a resounding no. So Thank you all, and tune in next time for a little bit more from Paul, Mark, and Chris.
Thank you, guys. No. Appreciate it. We'll see you on the next
one. Go ahead. You first. In all seriousness, yeah. I think this is a good topic.
In all seriousness, I think it is a definite valid topic that needs to be discussed. I think the challenge is the premise of your question. Will it ever get caught up to the end user? No, because the answer to that is how much money is enough. Talk to Elon Musk. He still doesn't have enough. So
$426 billion.
Like I said, he doesn't have enough. I would like to believe that I would think that, but so if we take out the enough statement from it, will it become comparable? I think traveling around the country, I think there's a disconnect between what is required to earn the money and the quantity or the quantifiable amount that gets you. I mean, in my mind, let me turn it around opposite. In my mind, the rate that an employee is paid is comparable with 3 things, really. What that person is looking for, how much responsibility that person is willing to assume, and then the third is the financial conditions of the employer. So I think when you end up balancing all 3 of those things, according to the National Apartment Association, depending on what state you're in, only 7 cents out of every dollar is profit for the owner, the management company, or that. So you're dealing with a 7% margin. And I'm not a business major, but if I give my money to a bank and I only get 7% back, that's lower than the rate of inflation some years that we've had previously. So that means that's less money that I have to pay my people more. Just simple back of napkin math. So that one piece says we're going to have a hard time getting more money for our employees. Yes, there needs to be more. And I think since COVID, since that happened, the average salary of a maintenance technician has increased. Is it where it needs to be? No. I know of maintenance technicians that can go to, say, welcome to retail store and make the exact same money that they're making currently. They'd end up being less fulfilled and all of those things. So if that's the case and the level of responsibility is higher, but their pay is that low, we're still not where I think we need to be. So that in long-winded, go figure, Paul gets long-winded, answer is mine.
What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I don't disagree with Paul. I think that nobody is ever going to get paid what they think that they're worth or what they should be getting. But what we have seen over the last few years, and this is just a different take, are pay transparency laws. Historically, you would see a job posting for a maintenance technician or a maintenance supervisor or any position in multifamily, right? You'd come in for the interview, they'd sell you on the community, they'd sell you on the job, and then you got hit with the offer. Because nobody likes to talk about pay in an interview. Yes, it happens, but you don't really know what you're going to get paid until you get that offer. Mm-hmm. And it depends on your person. At that point, it's where you are financially, personally, what you're willing to take. You may have put it on an application. You may have had a conversation with the interviewer. But it's when you look at that number on an offer, let's say it's $20 an hour, and you have to decide, is that the number? Because that's what they're offering. Mm-hmm. What I have seen, because I have been working in some states that have had pay transparencies for a while now, pay transparency laws, which means for the most part, there are currently, as of January 2025, there are 14 states that have pay transparency laws in the books, including the District of Columbia, which means an employer needs to put in their job posting either the exact number that you're going to get paid or a reasonable range. You can't put in that they're going to make either $1 or $1,000 an hour. It has to be a reasonable range. Yeah. So what we have started to see is an uptick in what the pay ranges are, right? Because now we got competition that everybody can see. I know what Johnny across the street is paying his maintenance technicians. My competitor, right? I didn't know before unless I knew somebody at Johnny's organization. So what we're going to start to see with pay transparency laws is creep. It might not be huge, but I can tell you I've started to see it, and I have been able to personally make cases in the states of New York, New Jersey, where I operate in, and say, hey, look at these 6 job postings from 6 of our competitors in this market. They're paying more. We're losing our people to those competitors because they're not even applying for us. Why would I apply for a job that's $15 an hour when the exact same job posting across the street is 18 or 19? Yeah. So I think that as more states, and I don't know how many more, a lot of the states on here are it's California, Colorado, Nevada, New Jersey, New York. I'm not going to list all of them, but they are progressive states that have been doing this for a while. They are states that increase their minimum wage. And that's another conversation, federal minimum wage versus state, have been doing increases on their minimum wage way before anybody else was doing it. right? So they increase their minimum wages. Now they're like, we increase the minimum wages. Now tell everybody what you're paying them.
Yeah.
If we start seeing more states do that, if we start seeing an increase in the federal minimum wage, which I don't anticipate anytime soon, which is odd because of the day that we're recording this, but I don't see that the federal minimum wage, but you will see states increase, and you'll probably see more states have pay transparency laws because their adjacent states have it. Connecticut and New Jersey put it in because New York did it first, right? States around California have started to join the list. That's where it starts, and you'll start to see it, because why would I take a job in Oregon where I don't know? Why would I interview? I live on the border of California and Oregon. Why would I even apply for a job in Oregon if I don't know what I'm going to get offered? But I know in California because they're required to tell me. So I think there's hope. Yeah. People aren't going to get paid what they're worth, but I do see it changing, especially for our industry because of that pay transparency law piece.
Yeah. So the reason I phrased the question that specific way, there's a purpose, there's a point to it. Paul, you mentioned that pre-pandemic or post-pandemic, you've noticed a slight increase in compensation for maintenance. Do you feel, and let me say, I feel that I agree with you 100%. There is an increase in maintenance compensation, but I also feel that increase is there strictly because we don't have the manpower. We're minus 50,000. I'm throwing some stupid number out there, but we need people, right? We need people in the maintenance sector. We don't have enough. So the people that we currently have, we're going to pay them a little bit more to make them feel like they make them feel better. So we're going to pay them more because we know they're overworked. Right? Back to pandemic, the mass resignation, people leaving, right? Now you have the people who stayed, who stuck through it. We're going to pay them a little bit more, but now they're understaffed. They're overworked. We can't get people to come in. And when we do, they don't have the same knowledge set of the people we lost. Do you agree with that? Do you think that while yes, the pay is going up, do you feel like it's because we don't have enough people here and we're trying to keep it, or we are understaffed? I noticed that a lot of maintenance supervisors, at least where I am in the region where I am in the country, I pick on some of them sometimes in a friendly way. They're friends of mine that I don't call maintenance supervisors. I call them maintenance organizers because they're organizing vendors. I guess I feel like I come from an era where we fixed stuff. It was the last resort to replace something. Do you feel like there's any correlation in pay now versus then? Obviously, times were different then. Inflation much lower. But again, another topic, another conversation. But like, how do you feel like any of those are related in any way, shape, or form?
There is, to answer your question, there are like 3 or 4 different thoughts that ran through my brain really quick. You may even seen a little bit of smoke come out my ears. I'm trying to hold it in, but it's working hard. The first thing is, one, I think we are continuing to do our maintenance workers a disservice by only keeping the conversation at money. I think we need to expand compensation outside of a dollar amount. And the quick point on that is, when several years ago, when I was with director of maintenance, we were doing a compensation review, and I brought up that we need to pay more per hour. That's what people want. And they said, oh, but we're increasing our bonus. And then you go talk to the candidates about, yeah, but you have the potential for getting X amount more dollars of bonus than across the street. The result was, I don't care about the bonus because I have no control over that. So yes, the dollar amount that we're increasing and raising, but if we cannot get our maintenance team to look beyond the dollar amount, then we're always going to be fighting that. The second piece is, to your point, Mark, the job description or the role responsibilities of a maintenance supervisor has drastically changed. It used to be, to your point, we led from the front. We were, something comes in and my technician can't handle it, I'm on it and I'm handling it, but we're handling it in-house.
Yeah.
Now, more and more, the maintenance supervisor is expected to spend an appreciable amount of time behind a computer screen, not out in the field hitting things with hammers, fixing drywall, repairing air conditioning, dealing with plumbing. If we on our properties did a work role expectation survey and we broke it down by time, how much time do we expect our maintenance supervisors to sit in front of the computer and be, to your point, the maintenance organizer, and how much do we expect them to actually do maintenance? My guess is we'd come up with about 160% of the time, totaling all of those together.
Yeah.
So that's another problem. The third problem is that the last episode, the last conversation we did, how many buildings and starts are we going to have? The reality is, if we have 100,000 buildings now, making up a number, 100,000 buildings now, and 5 years from now, we're going to have 150,000 buildings, who's going to take care of those new buildings when right now we can't fill our empty roles? And then the last one leads me to the question for my episode here next when we talk there. So we'll come back to that piece. But those are my thoughts on what you said. So the direct answer, no, we're not there yet. The money needs to go up, but it needs to be bigger than just a dollar amount.
Right. We surveyed. I'm sorry, Chris. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Please go. Go.
I want to touch on something Paul just said. We surveyed maintenance team members here in town and it's about your thing about the bonus. And I don't remember the exact, it was 80 something. It was 80 something % of the people we surveyed. They said they don't care about the bonus. They would rather have their increase in their hourly rate. They would rather have the money they can take home right then and there that they need to get by. So I understand bonuses are out there. They're out there and they're like, ooh, I can get that one lump. I could get that. I could get that. I could get that. But I think people need the hourly rate raise in order to put food on their table, in order to put gas in their car, in order to make it to work. Just want it because we did survey. I have it's like 82, 83% of the people who said they would rather have the increase in their hourly rate. What are you going to say, Chris?
Paul, your point of looking past the dollar amount is really important. I'm blessed to work for an organization that has done some things that I don't think are industry standard. And some of them may be, depending on the organization, right? We recognize holidays as productive time, which means if there is overtime, on-call, snow removal during a holiday week, right? They're actually getting paid time and a half for it. If you have a holiday that's paid non-productive time, most organizations that I've had experience with or that I've heard, that first 8 hours of quote unquote overtime, that first 8 hours of on-call or snow removal on a Saturday, which we all have experienced, is paid at straight time because of the holiday. I work for an organization that said, we're going to recognize all of our holidays, whether you're on the office or the maintenance side, that is productive time. And if it's classified as productive time in your timekeeping, anything over that 40 hours that you work productive time that week is now getting paid a time and a half, or whatever your overtime rate is. I know some people do two times or 2.5 times for whatever reason, depending on your state laws. Now that goes out the window if you take a sick day that week. Right? That's not productive time. If you take a vacation day, paid holidays where we're telling, take the holiday, you have to be off. We're not going to staff the property. So that's huge. We do on-call bonuses. Now, I've heard some organizations who it's a fantastic, if you're on call for a week, you're getting paid, and I think I heard this back in September, that you're getting paid $300 for the week if you hold the phone, whether or not you get a call. Every organization is different. My company does not do that. We do offer an on-call bonus, an on-call stipend. Don't want to go into the details of that. I'm talking about another organization that does it. But that's a huge thing for our business. And then you have the other pieces of compensation, right? There are how much of your benefits are being covered by an organization? What kind of benefits and opportunities do you have with an organization, which are all selling points. And the other thing that my organization did, and I don't see a lot of organizations do, is Paul, this is great to your point, is doing a total compensation package review that gets sent to every employee. So every year, I get a document prepared by a third party that shows what my salary was, bonuses if I got them, what the financial piece of my insurance, of my benefits was. And it has a line item and it says, okay, Chris, this is your base salary, what you signed up for, what we hired you at. But really, this is what you're worth to us as an employee. And it includes all of those things. And I think that tells me and our fellow team members of the organization I work for, oh, I'm worth more to this organization than what my paycheck says every single week. And I think that goes a long way because a lot of people only see what's in their check. They don't necessarily see, oh, the company is carrying 80% of my healthcare benefits. They're putting in up to 6% of a 401k that goes into my 401k, and that's free money for my retirement in the future. I get a $500 reimbursement for my gym membership. These are all little things that organizations are doing, but we don't see it because it's not in our check.
Right.
And I think organizations need to look at that and be marketing that, one, to their current employees, like my company does, and two, to people that you're interviewing. It is more than the pay transparency laws that I was just talking about. We're legally required to tell you how much an hour you're going to make, but let's tell you everything that you're not going to see in your paycheck.
Yeah.
And I think that moves the needle because those plumbers, my brother is a fire alarm contractor. He gets paid a very handsome wage. If we were to sit down and I asked him what his total compensation was, it would just be what's in his paycheck. And our organizations, a lot of multifamily companies, it's a lot more than what's in your paycheck. And he gets paid a very good rate as a fire alarm technician.
Yeah.
But that's all he gets. That's it.
I have a question then. You everything you talked about, and I agree with everything you did. Does the answer change though when you're talking about a mom and pop? So instead of your frame of reference, my frame of reference is the big management companies. How is you guys have 100 and some odd thousand units that you guys under management?
Yeah.
What about that just have the one building, but they need on-site maintenance or on-site maintenance employee? And it's no longer the what used to be the stereotypical to where the one partner runs the office, the other partner runs maintenance. And that is their job. That is their career. That doesn't exist as much anymore. So how does the answer change? And maybe even, Mark, this changes the question a little bit. How does this change that compensation piece for what I'm calling the mom and pops or the small individual owners?
Yeah, you can take it down so many different roads. You can take it from the 100,000 property management, people who are companies that just third party companies who own and manage, and then the mom and pops who are working on their retirement, who just own a handful of properties just to bring in a little bit of extra income. That sort of thing. I think there's different answers for all of that. And I don't know that any one specific answer is the best umbrella. And no, I was not looking for a specific answer. I just was, I don't know. It's a question that we are all aware of. We all hear it. Every single one of us hears it multiple times. And I just began to wonder, I feel I'm gonna get some hate for saying this, but I feel like people are getting paid more now to do less work. And again, it's inflation, like, and properties and values, but I see people doing less work now, making more money. And when I'm presented a job offer, Mark, we would like for you to come to work for our company. We're going to pay you this. If I agree, I'm not agreeing to only do what I feel is worth that amount. I'm agreeing to give you everything I have for that amount. And I don't feel like a lot of people do that. I think a lot of people say, oh, I don't get paid enough for that. I'm like, no, you work for this company. We presented you a salary you accepted. Let's get on with it. So
here's your job description. This is what we have laid out for you to do.
Yeah. So again, I don't think there was a specific answer that we're not solving the world's problems here, but I think that it is something that needs to be.
On a future podcast, though, we might solve all the world's problems. We're just not doing it today.
So I know what my topic is for the next session.
The world's problems? Yeah. Hold on. I got to get a bigger roll of duct tape then.
Let me refill my mug. Hold on. But
You can see the press release now. World problem solved. Mark Sharp got a fresh cup of coffee. 11.
It's tea. It's tea. I don't drink coffee. But I'm going to learn. I'm going to learn to drink it. I will. But I think it's good to have the conversation. I think it's good to see where various people are in the industry. I know what you two do for a living, but a lot of our listeners might not. I worked for a much smaller company. And so how you see that question is different than how I see that question. And so again, not that we're discussing anything groundbreaking, but I think it's interesting though, that regardless of company size, regardless of owner, manager, fee managed, blah, 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 it's an issue. It's a constant issue, and it will be an issue, especially to tie in Chris's episode with multifamily construction. And Paul, you touched on it earlier. We're already understaffed. Where are we going to find the people to staff all of this new construction? My town on city council, you can look up and you can see that there are 4,300 units that have been approved to be built within a certain, we call it the upstate. And okay, great. That's 10 properties, 12, 13 properties that are going to be built over a certain period of time. Where are you going to find people to staff that?
Mark, as we wrap up, you said something that I want to make you're right. Paul and I represent a certain type of organization. You represent a certain type of organization, but our listeners and viewers represent way more than that. So I'm going to give a soft plug. We want to hear. Go on YouTube, put in the comments. Go ahead, email us. Go to Multifamily Media Network website and put in a comment. Send us. We want to hear. Maybe we'll read them back on future episodes of The Turnover. We want to hear what you're doing, what your thoughts are. And I think it's a good opportunity before you wrap, Mark. I'm sorry. I just thought, I was like, we want to hear people's thoughts. And we want to share them. That's one of the reasons why we've gotten this whole thing together. I'm going to encourage you all, put a note in the comments, hit us up on multifamilymedianetwork.com, go to our page, leave us a voice note, leave us a written note, send us an email, and maybe we'll hear your comments. If you want to hear your comment read back, or make sure that you put your name in if you want to leave out your organization, that's fine, but put your name in and maybe we'll read it back on a future episode of The Turnover. Mark, let me turn it back over to you to wrap.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I really think that it's good conversation, and I think we need to be talking about it. And it's not that it's always negative. So don't be afraid to have those conversations. Don't be afraid to talk about it. But yes, in closing, for Paul, Chris, and myself, we thank you all for tuning in to today's episode of The Turnover. We hope you valued the conversation, and we will catch you on the next one. See y'all later.
Now it's your opportunity to respond and let us know what we missed. If there's any topics of conversation you'd like us to turn over, head over to multifamilymedianetwork.com and leave us a message.